This is Abby Kuykendall, and you're listening to the Radical Radiance Podcast.
Abby, friend, I am so excited to welcome you back to the show. Thank you for being with me today.
Yeah, it's so fun. It's been so long since we have had a good chat. And so this is like, I've been looking forward to this. We had to reschedule. And so now I'm like so excited to be chatting with you. It's going to be so good.
I'm pumped. Yeah. I feel like we have both lived about 7 lives since we've caught up. So it feels really unfair that we have like a half hour. So we're going to like have some self-discipline and then catch up later because I just love you so much. And both of our lives have changed so much in the last couple of years, which I think is actually really pertinent to the topic that we're going to talk about today. So I'm so excited. And I think this is going to be so helpful to so many of our people. You have a new book coming out called Let the Biscuits Burn. And first of all, it's beautiful. I had the chance to tell you that. Yeah, it's a beautiful cover. And I just love the heart behind it. I would love for you to start by sharing a little bit of your heart for the message. What inspired you to kind of reframe hospitality as less about entertaining and more about serving others? And why do you think that shift is so important for Christian women today?
Yeah, I think it kind of came from, over the last 3 or 4 years, I've been speaking a lot and traveling and talking to a lot of different people in a lot of different life stages. When I wrote The Living Table, my first book, it's a cookbook devotional.
Which we love.
Yes, it's amazing if you don't have it.
It's one of my mom's favorite books. I need you to know that.
I love that.
Yeah.
But when I was talking to people about it, I really thought that it was going to resonate with a really younger audience. And, in God fashion, he had such different plans. And it really resonated with this like busy mom, but also busy empty nester that didn't really know her place and didn't really hadn't worked those muscles of hospitality in so long. And so one of the things that I kept on hearing was this kind of like intimidation or this like pressure that they had put on themselves from just like being on Instagram or being on Pinterest or watching Food Network or whatever it is. And none of those things are inherently bad. But I think when we view them in a comparative manner and we're not approaching those things with kind of a God mindset, then that's when it can be dangerous for us. And so I got this, I guess I was having a conversation with somebody and I was like, oh my gosh, girl, just let it burn. And I was like, hey, that's actually a really catchy title, kind of ironic and pithy for a cookbook author to now write a trade book that is all about burning biscuits. And so I thought there was a little bit of a hook there. I actually had pitched it to a couple of people before landing with the agent I have now at Alive, and she's amazing. And they were like, I don't really like the title. And I just felt this really strong desire that this was like the title, but I renamed it because of pressure.
Right.
And when I got into the titling conversation at HarperCollins with my editor, she was like, oh my gosh, girl, why have you been holding out on us? Let the Biscuits Burn is awesome. And I was like, you like it?
How kind of God. How kind of God.
So it really and that's kind of, what birthed the idea. But then the more I dove into the topic, it was like, oh my gosh, we are making so many excuses as a body of believers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, real big on the Chat GPT train right now. And
I love that about you.
I love AI so much. It's dangerous. It's kind of scary, but if you're just having fun with it, you're having a discerning mind and doing it for the glory of God. I mean, what's another tool, right? Anyway, I put into Chat GPT a couple of weeks ago, if you were the devil and you wanted to keep me from showing hospitality to others, what would you tell me? And it was like chilling. It was like, your house is a mess. You're not a good cook. Why would anyone want to be your friend? Or everyone is going to be too busy. It was like things that I've actually heard or told myself. And it just made me have a heart check of I am listening to the enemy way too frequently. And I'm passing it off as my inadequacies when it's not. That's the enemy. The Lord says, hey, you be obedient. You come to the table and watch me multiply the fish and the loaves. Yeah. And so that's really what Let the Biscuits Burn is about. It's about kind of addressing the excuses, looking at, sometimes maybe your excuse is, I'm not a good cook. Well, we touch on that. Yeah. Maybe your excuse is, I don't know how to set physical or emotional boundaries. And that is a real
It's a real thing.
hurdle for people, parents. It's a hurdle for singles that maybe overextend themselves. Like that's a hard balance. And so I address that. So it really goes through all of the different ways that you might be saying no to hospitality and showing you like, no, you don't have to show up perfectly, but you do have to show up obediently.
Yeah. So good. You say in the book that hospitality is a spiritual practice of intentional kindness. I love that so much. So, how does opening our homes in that way reflect the heart of God? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so many times in the church, I think that we pigeonhole hospitality as a spiritual gift.
Yeah.
And
You see it all the time.
I really believe strongly, while yes, scripture tells us it's a spiritual gift, I believe wholeheartedly that it is also this discipline or this practice, this rhythm that we need to get in the habit of expressing the goodness of God. Because if you look at Jesus's ministry, what did he do? The entire book of Luke is all about Jesus around food and around people. Different sizes of groups of people. He was feeding 5,000. He was with 2 or 3, in Zacchaeus' house. Like it's all about bringing people together. I think food is the natural conduit that brings people together, but then it's about making sure that people feel fully loved, fully known, and fully seen. And I did not make that up. Dr. Kurt Thompson has written that for, I guess, decades in his books. And I love that so much because I think that is the essence of who God created us to be. We desire to be fully known, fully loved, and fully seen. And if we can, by inviting people in, show that to others, we are getting a front row seat at glorifying God and seeing what he can do with that. And so when I write about it is a practice of intentional kindness, it is about putting others first, but also making sure that those people that you open your home and invite in say, I felt fully known, I felt fully seen, and I felt fully loved in that moment. Because you are that in essence, like showcasing, putting God on display when you bring people into your home.
Yeah. So good. So I wonder for the woman who's listening and she's like, yeah, Abby, yeah, Rebecca, all that sounds great. But like for the woman who's there right now and she's thinking, my home isn't clean enough. It's not pretty enough. It's not big enough. What do you want to say to her? Coach her for a minute in this.
Yep. I want you to take a very small step of obedience. Because if I had listened to that exact thing, when I lived in a 650 square foot apartment, when I had a folding table leaf table that sat 2, I would not have experienced the abundant joy of community with 8 girls sitting on the floor in that 650 square foot apartment. And then that would not have started this kind of like journey into experiencing and learning about the practice of hospitality. A lot of people are shocked to hear hospitality is not my spiritual gift. It's actually like 6 or 7 when you take the test and it like gives you like, this is where you rank. It's like 6 or 7. I'm like administration. I am like, I'm very logical. I'm a good teacher. And so all of those things are kind of in the top. But it has been something that I have had to approach just like that. I have heard your house is too messy. A couple of nights ago, I had people in my home and I have scaffolding, 2 stories worth of scaffolding in my living room, and I have a mattress in my kitchen. And like, that is, if I would have listened to the enemy say, your house is a wreck, you're in the middle of a construction zone, or you have nothing to serve because that mattress is in front of your oven, like I would have missed out on the conversation and kind of the goodness of just experiencing deeper relationships being formed around the table. So if you're listening and you say, yeah, hospitality sounds great in theory, but I just don't have time, or I don't have the resources, or it's overwhelming and intimidating. Take the first step of obedience. It is 1 person, 1 cup of coffee, or 1 Diet Coke, whatever your drink of choice is. And it is a 30-minute conversation. Hey, I have an hour on Thursday. I would love for you to come over and I just want to hear about your heart. And you will be amazed at what that step of obedience will do in opening a vulnerable, intimate conversation that deepens your relationship, not only with that person, but with God.
Yeah. Beautiful. I love it. So for our friends who are like, okay, yes, I want to do that. I love that you talk about the art of the invite in the book. I think that's such an important piece of this. And sometimes we need to be like coached through this, right? Especially I think in our culture that just I think is more isolating than it's ever been before. We run at such a fast pace than we ever have
Yeah.
before, which leaves us in this place of like isolation a lot of times just feels easier than community and hospitality. So, what is one simple, practical step somebody can take this week to invite somebody into their life?
Yeah. In the art of the invite, I kind of like walk you through steps of like, you need to think about who, you need to think about like, what's your time frame? You need to think about what are you going to be
Yeah.
doing? And so I think thinking through those steps, but also having a clear direction. So if Thursdays are your day, or say Saturday mornings are your day, okay, I'm going to invite one person over on Saturday, but I'm going to be clear about my expectation. I'm going to say,
Yeah.
hey, do you want to come over from 10 to 11? Or do you want to go grab a cup of coffee at coffee shop in town? And do that. It does not, sometimes I think we get overwhelmed by the invite of it has to be in our home. Now, I do write in both the living table and Let the Biscuits Burn that your home is going to be the most vulnerable and most
Yeah.
authentic, and kind of like it's going to be the best place to kind of form those deeper relationships. But if you are getting started, I'm going to give you a free pass, and I'm going to say, if you need to go to a coffee shop, if that feels more approachable to you, like, okay, my first step can be out in public. It doesn't have to be in my home. That is okay.
Yeah.
I think that the Lord blesses all types of obedience, and that can be a form of hospitality.
Totally.
Now, deeper relationships, I believe, are formed in the home, around the table, but
Yeah.
go out. But I would be really clear about an expectation for yourself.
Yeah.
This is where we're going. This is how long we're going to be there. And most likely, 9 times out of 10 or 10 times out of 10, the person will appreciate the parameters that you
Yeah.
set.
Clear is
And
kind.
they will be like, okay, good. I'm not dedicating my whole Saturday to her. I know that we'll be able to do something else afterwards or whatever. So, yeah, practical step,
Yeah.
the art of the invite. If you have trouble with words, if you don't know what to say, chat GPT.
Yeah.
Like,
Totally.
write that in a text message. Hey, I want to invite Rebecca to coffee at Heroes Coffee at 10 a.m. What do I need to say in a text message? Make it fun and engaging and conversational. And chat is so kind to send you back exactly what to say.
Yeah, I love that. I love that so much. So I think for me, and I know so many people, there's just sometimes this barrier of like wanting to show up perfectly or kind of overanalyzing like if it didn't go perfectly. Right. So I
Okay.
would
Yeah.
love to talk about that part of hospitality for a minute. How have you seen God show up at the table in maybe unexpected ways, even when like on the other side of it, you would say, yeah, that didn't go perfect.
Yeah. The other night I had some friends over and I made this Oreo ice cream dessert. It's like Oreos, ice cream, chocolate fudge sauce, and then
Great.
Cool Whip on top. I mean, you can't
Yeah.
go wrong with any of those
No.
4 ingredients. All store bought, layer it up like lasagna, freeze it, and it's great. And the last time I made it for this crew, I made it last summer. And I remember them not eating the Oreo part because it was like so hard. Like I'd put way too much
Yeah.
butter in it. And so it was like rock solid. And so nobody ate it. And I vividly remember a couple of the women like trying to eat it and then just kindly putting it down on the plate.
Kindly.
I like
Yeah.
still vividly remember that. Okay. And
Yeah.
so I have not made it since because the
Yeah.
enemy has been telling me, you don't know how to make it. It's way too hard. It's not hard.
Yeah.
And like nobody liked it. And that's not true. So I made it again. And none of the women that had it last year remembered eating it.
Great.
Praise
Step
the
one.
Lamb. And then they were like, this is the best dessert ever. And I was like, yes. But like, it's not necessarily about the food. I don't want to make this story about the food. But when we were sitting around the table, like it was that dessert that brought them in. Hey, I'm going to make this Oreo ice cream. Will you come over? Like, let's chat. Let's catch up on our summers. And we had this like 3-hour conversation just about what the Lord was doing in our lives and like where our hearts were and how our summers had gone. Like, listen, for a mom of a 15-month-old who doesn't get out a whole lot, those 3 hours, I mean, in the past, 3 hours of conversation might have filled my cup for like a day and a half.
Yeah.
3 hours of conversation for a 15-month-old mama is like, that fills my cup for 2 weeks. Like, that was gold. And so if I had listened to the enemy tell me, okay, these women aren't going to like your cooking because last time you made something for them, they didn't eat it. Like, you don't need to invite them over again. Or like, this is a multi-generational group. And so they're like 15 years, 20 years older than I am. Like, had I said like, they don't want anything to do with a 37-year-old new mom, like had I listened to all of that, I wouldn't have had this like incredible soul care. And it wasn't just me, like the rest of the women, I mean, they stayed so much longer than anticipated because they were being fed life too. And I just like, I sit back, and that, Rebecca, is what makes me so passionate about hospitality, is that if we open our door and if we are obedient in inviting people in, we receive more than they do, like than their guests do, because the Lord is so faithful and he is so kind, and he wants us to experience community because we experience him in that. And so that's like a recent example. I have so many examples, my love of the table. I think the table is like where all great things happen. And I just like, there's so many times I've not wanted to show up. There are times where, the food didn't work out. I had one time, I think I wrote about it in Let the Biscuits Burn, where like a chair literally collapsed. Somebody was like sitting in it and it collapsed. And I was like, oh, wow, they're never coming back over. And now they're like one of my best friends, and they like are over all the time. Remember that time the chair broke? Like, those kind of things, like when the biscuits burn, the chairs break, like that's when relationships go to a different level.
Yeah. 100%. I love that because I think it's so important, the conversation around like, how do I do it when I'm overwhelmed, if I'm grieving, if I'm tired, if I'm a busy mom? Like, there's so many, and I know you talk about this in the book, there's so many reasons why we don't practice hospitality, but to hear you say like, hey, this is the way I showed up as a new mom, and here's what God did. Like, I just think that's so powerful.
I know for a fact I wrote this because I had to get her to sign off on it.
Also, P.S. under the like how the sausage is made for everybody. By the time you get to this point in launching a book, you have no idea what ended up in the book and what got cut.
Yeah. I do know this next story. I think I had to get her to sign, my friend Jen, I had to get her to sign off on the story. But Jen, when I guess I was like 2 months postpartum, I had a rough postpartum experience, and I invited her over and I said, hey, do you want to come over? She shows up. She loves HEB's Texas pecan coffee from Texas. Right. Like, it is. And it really is. She's gotten me hooked. It's so good. She drinks it black, and I like coffee with my cream. But I've learned to drink this coffee black because it's just that good. And she shows up with a thermos of that coffee, and she knows I love the handles on her coffee cups. So she brought a coffee cup, and she poured me coffee, and we talked for not long, an hour or something. But it was like I invited her over, but then she ended up blessing me more than she probably got blessed. In that stupor of a new mom. But like, I say that to like, even if you're walking through a rough part of life, it doesn't have to be something that you create. Like, I had no business inviting people into my home at that point. But I needed people. I needed community. And so I reached out and I said, hey, will you come talk to me for like 30 minutes? And she was like, yes. Showed up with a thermos and a coffee mug. And like, I was blessed beyond measure. And so I think that, if you can get past the perfection or the environment that you think you need to create, and just say, okay, I'm doing this to glorify God. I'm doing this to see how God will show up because I'm in a place where I desperately need to experience him. He will always show up.
Yeah, so good. I love how in that you touched on there's like a giving and a receiving end of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I think that's a really beautiful example of there will be moments that you recognize, like you as a new mom, hey, this woman in my life, she needs like the ministry of presence right now.
Yeah.
And I know that's something for me that I'm always asking God to just open my eyes to because I don't want to miss those moments where like maybe somebody reaches out and they don't have much to give. But I recognize like, oh, they're a new mom or they're grieving a loss or whatever. Like, how
Yeah.
can I best show up for them? So I think yes to the hospitality, being open to that. And also like when sometimes even we're the receiver of the invite, we can also recognize like, ooh, this could be a kind way to serve
Yeah.
them, you know?
That's so good. And reading, I have a boundaries chapter in the book where I
Love
talk
it.
about physical and emotional and spiritual boundaries and how
Yep.
we're not each other's therapists, and
Yep.
you can recognize that. And we also do not have unlimited time to give. And so understanding
Yeah.
that and trying to like kind of figuring out how to navigate that with
Yeah.
friends or with new friends, family, all of that. So as you're showing hospitality, and I think that that's such a great point of like understanding maybe your emotional or your spiritual boundary, but also like saying, okay, God, what do you want to teach
Yeah.
me in this moment? And how can I say yes? Sometimes it might have to be a no in that moment, but saying, okay, how can I say yes?
Yeah.
How can I show up for this person? Because I am a huge believer in that every conversation that we have, every interaction, every maybe run in that you have at the store is God ordained. Like
100%.
God is working in all of the woven fabrics of our life. And
Yep.
it is up to us to continue to ask the question, Lord, what do you want from me in this situation? Lord, what can
Yeah.
I do in this situation? Lord, how can I best glorify you
Yeah.
in this moment or in this day? And so I think when you do receive those invitations and maybe yes is hard in that moment, ask yourself, okay, how can I say yes? Because we all can attest that hearing no
Mhm.
to an invite is hard.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I love that. Okay, well, as we get close to winding down the conversation, I wonder, is there like parting encouragement that you want to give people as you think about the message of the book, Let the Biscuits Burn? What is one thing that you want every person reading the book to walk away with?
I think this is just the message of my life, but
Mm.
it is not about perfection. It is about the people.
Yeah.
And if you walk away with anything from this conversation or the book or anything about hospitality, it is that we have got to become a church body. We've got to become a people that focus more on loving others than we do on how the table is set. And I know that God is in the details and he loves details, because look at the sunset, right? Look
Mhm.
at the way that he has landscaped the mountains. And so he is all about the intricacies of detail.
Yeah.
Look at the cells that make up the human body. I mean,
Yeah.
he's in the details. But as much as he's in the details, he's also so about loving others
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
loving people. And if we can look past the pressures of our culture and
Yeah.
how perfect we have to have things, and we can just show up for people, I think that we are going to be able to love others better and glorify God more. And you will
Mhm.
see a difference in our communities. You'll see a difference in the way children are raised. You will see a difference in how
Yeah.
marriages are formed and how they stay together. I think hospitality is kind of like this underlying thread that,
Yeah.
if we can get right, can change a generation.
Yeah. Amen. So good.
Mm.
Well, there is a question that I ask all my guests that come on the Radical Radiance podcast. It goes back to this verse in Psalm 34, verse 5, that God gave me as I was titling the show. And it says, those who look to him are radiant and their faces
Mm.
are never covered in shame. And so the question I love asking, Abby, in this season of your life, what about Jesus makes you radiant?
His patience. I
Mm,
feel like I am learning constantly so much. And I am just getting to experience a side of Jesus that is more patient than I would care to admit
Yeah.
that he is having
Yeah.
to be pretty patient with me, and I am having to learn lessons 2 and 3 times over. I feel like a little toddler. And so, gosh, he's so good to be faithful in those moments of waiting and in those moments of patience, and really, really getting to experience Jesus kind of continue to say, hey, come on, like we've been over this before, but let's do it again. Okay. It's been really sweet to experience his goodness in that way of patience in kind of this season of learning how to navigate life with a husband and a child.
Yes.
For those that don't know me, I got married like 2 years ago and then had a baby like very quickly. And so navigating all of the change has been a lot, but the Lord is teaching me so many things and patient in the middle of it.
He is so patient towards us. I love that. So good. Well, let our friends know, where can they connect with you? Where can they grab Let the Biscuits Burn? All the things after this conversation.
Yeah. So Let the Biscuits Burn, it's available everywhere. I mean, like Amazon is where we get most books, right?
Yep.
And so there's an audiobook available, which is so cool.
Did you narrate it? Please tell me you did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Girl, and it was so fun watching you narrate yours. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I really hope they asked me to do that. And so when they asked me, they were like, hey, would you like to narrate it? And I was like,
yes, I would.
Really? Absolutely. Oh, that's such an, I'm like, yes. I'd be coy about this excitement. But yeah, it was so fun. So audiobook is available. Let the Biscuits Burn, all out on September 23rd. I'm over at abbykuykendall.com, and Kuykendall is spelled Kuykendall. So it's spelled, looks like Kuykendall or Kuykendall, but it's IR. So Kuykendall. And then I'm over on Instagram every day sharing just like all of the things, the ways that I'm burning biscuits.
I love it. She's a fun follow, everybody. She's a fun follow. I love it.
Well, I have enjoyed we kind of met in this space several years ago. And so I have so enjoyed our kind of online digital relationship over the last 3 or 4 years. Just the encouragement back and forth has been awesome. And what a great conversation today. I hope your listeners enjoyed it.
I did, and I know they will as well. And I'm just so excited for you, friends. So everybody go grab a copy of Let the Biscuits Burn. Go follow Abby. And friend, thank you so much for being my guest today. I'm grateful for you.
Bye.